Welcome back to Total War Warhammer. I'm IndiePride, and this is the Battle of Coldfire Cavern. The Dawi of the Kara's Anchor, the Everpeak, are facing down a massive greenskin horde led by Grimgor Ironhide. I am playing as the Dwarfs, and my army consists of a front line of Thunderers, Dwarf Warriors as my main infantry line to soak up the powerful charge, and Doomdiver artillery from the Greenskins, and my elite infantry will be a combination of Longbeards with the axe and shield combo, and Ironbreakers encased in powerful ground wheel armor from head to toe. On both flanks, I have organ guns opening up fire now. These will rip through enemy infantry formations but perform very poorly against single units like giants or heroes. And backing them up, I have hammers, dwarf warriors with great weapons, and of course the slayers and the Irondrakes with flamethrowers and Irondrakes with Trollhammer Torpedoes. The torpedo units are extremely valuable against monster units, while the flamethrowers are good for burning low armor units like Savage Orc to cinders. Oakley High Def is commanding the Greenskin hordes. He is going to be using wave tactics in this battle, first sending up the goblins and the orc boys to soak up fire from my thunderers and from my organ guns, and then sending in some of the more elite troops later. This will be more of a cinematic replay than a tactical one. In these underground battles, there isn't much room to maneuver or outflank your opponent, but I will say they do set the mood very nicely. The thing with these underground battles is that you're generally going to be forced onto the strong shield walls of the dwarf army, which isn't necessarily where the Greenskins want to be. But Oakley is doing something in this part of the battle that is very important, very intelligent. He's going to be trying to send his cheap troops first, obviously, to meet shield. It's a very important concept in Total War. But he's going to be trying to bait out my blasting charges by feinting charges with his greenskins and then pulling back, making me miss those blasting charges. Kind of like how you bait out precursor javelins in Rome 2. Now the Arachnarok Spider is moving up, and I'm going to make a micro mistake here. I was focusing on pulling back my Thunderers, and he is going to charge into the organ gun crew. They're dwarfs though, they're very tanky, they're going to be able to survive for a little bit. I'll pull them back. They will be able to get back on the guns once I deal with the spider. You can see that massive amount of Irondrake fire coming in now. The flames aren't amazing versus the high armor of the Arachnarok Spider, but I do have the Trollhammer Torpedoes firing in as well. This has happened on both flanks. The Arachnarok Spider went for my organ gun crews, and they're getting shot to pieces by my Trollhammer Torpedo. So they will not be able to last for very long, and they can actually route out the sides of the battlefield. They won't run to the end. So that spider is actually going to route very soon out of the battlefield right to the side of the engagement and will be off of the field as you see it disappear now. Those Trollhammer Torpedoes are amazing for single targets. Looks like the Curse of the Bad Moon going off now on my High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer. He is not going to go down to that. The Vortex spells are actually quite bad for single targets, going to barely do any damage. And of course, the Dwarfs do have an innate, I believe, 25% magic resistance, so a lot of these spells honestly won't do very much to the Dawi. And I also have a Runesmith, which will be able to buff my troops, give me the Rune of Negation, which gives me a 45% damage reduction against all damage sources in an AoE, which is pretty insane. I believe that's on a 45-second or minute-long cooldown. Very, very good rune, and he has a couple others that buff armor and stuff like that. So I have dealt with this front line of the Greenskin hordes. They are retreating back behind the more potent Greenskin troops that are moving up now, the Savage Orc Big Guns, and some of the Black Orcs are moving up now. This is going to be the more tanky troops that are going to be harder for my Dawi line to deal with. Some of my dwarfs are getting a little bit overzealous at the moment, breaking formation, so I need to get them under control. As with any phalanx or any kind of shield wall, the strength of the army comes with forming a cohesive battle line. Breaking ranks and chasing after stuff is exactly what Oakley wants from me. It will allow him to get those flank charges and rear charges off that the Greenskins are so good at performing. So I need to get those guys under control. I do have a pretty solid battle line now. We're not going to get the charge off on these Great Beards, which was definitely a micro mistake. Do have some Ironbreakers charging through the middle of them, and I'm going to get into these Black Orcs and Savage Orc Big Guns, and we're going to be doing some hardcore melee combat now. So the Black Orcs and the Big Guns are into melee, and some of the Greenskins are still moving up now. That front line of Dwarf infantry is holding very sturdy, but I have taken quite a bit of losses so far, especially from the Doomdiver artillery. They've been firing the entire game into these blobs of Dwarf infantry. My Irondrakes and Irondrakes with Trollhammer Torpedoes are on the flanks now. They're about to open fire into some Black Orcs pretty soon here. And you can see Oakley's trying to get around the flank and get into the rear of those Dwarf warriors. If he gets a rear charge off, those guys will run from the field. Bit of a micro mistake, he's going to send some archers into melee. Might have been trying to send those fanatics off. The fanatics can actually do quite a bit of damage if they do go off in the middle of your formation. And the Irondrakes opening up now on Black Orcs. It looks amazing. It looks like I would do so much damage, but actually Irondrakes are quite poor versus high armor units. They will do almost no damage to Black Orcs with their, I believe, 120 armor value. So Trollhammer Torpedoes shooting in there now as well. I'm going to be able to do a little bit of damage here, and it looks amazing, but I think they've only dropped 5 or 6 models at this point. Still moving up now, getting past my main infantry line. You can see some of my runes going off to buff my troops. Runesmith is in melee combat, and now Grimgor Ironhide going to get into melee combat and start doing some damage for his Wah. And he's going to be charging in now past his main line, buff himself before the charge. Looks like he's going to be going into some Dwarf Warriors and the Ironbreakers as well. Killed one model right there. But actually he's going to break through and do something that I thought was really cool. He's going to end up going straight past my main line and go straight for Thorgrim Grudgebearer. So we're going to get a smackdown here between two very famous legendary lords. Thorgrim Grudgebearer on his throne with the Book of Grudges, and they're about to enter melee combat. It looks so awesome. I do wish that the legendary lords in this game got a few unique kill animations against other lords. I wish that like individual combat would get a little bit more flashy. I understand that for the infantry combat, they want to keep it so that it's more like Medieval 2 style, but it would definitely be nice to see some more of those flashy animations. Giant is in melee combat now, and there's going to be a huge amount of Irondrake fire coming in now. Trollhammer Torpedo is going to focus them down, and look at how fast that Giant dropped. It just entered melee combat, and I believe 2 volleys from the Trollhammer Torpedoes and a couple from the Flamethrowers are going to make that Giant very sad. Balance bar definitely shifting in my favor at this point. Giant is going to rout very soon here, and the Dwarf Warriors and Ironbreakers below him are going to be able to hold out as the Giant routes from the field, and that is going to be your battle. Now, I understand some of you guys don't really like how fast some of these battles are going. Trust me, some of these battles do take much longer. This one was very much in the Dwarfs' favor. I didn't tell Oakley to bring this build. We both knew going into it that the Dwarfs would have an advantage in a subterranean battle. Basically, you can't outflank them very easily at all because the map is very narrow, and Greenskins need to be able to flank to win. Dwarf shield wall is very strong. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll bring you some more content very soon.